The effects of more educated women. The percentage of the world's illiterate population has been decreasing since 1800 and drastically decreasing since the early 1900s. As seen in this animated world map, since 1870 there has been massive headway made in increasing the mean years of schooling a person attends across the globe. This graph also shows that the percentage of the population around the world who attended some type of formal schooling has increased by 58% in the 140 years between 1870 and 2010. According to Gapminder, this increase in education has had positive effects on economies worldwide. Generally, there's a slight yet prominent positive correlation between literacy rate for total adults versus income. As explained by the Millennium Development Goals of the United Nations, education contributes directly to the growth of national income by improving the productive capacities of the labor force. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, has been tracking trends and effects of better or increased education in 19 countries through the World Education Indicators Program. The results in WEI countries suggest that for every year the average level of schooling of the adult population is raised, there is a corresponding increase of 3.7% in the long-term economic growth rate. Although this data is only coming from 19 countries, UNESCO pools this data with that of other countries in order to create comparable education indicators for 63 countries, convening 72% of the world's population. Today we will be following data on 3 of these WEI countries: Tunisia, Egypt, and India. Using Gapminder, plotting mean years in school versus income, and specifically watching India, Tunisia, and Egypt, we see a clear positive trend. The same trend can be seen when we graph mean years in school for females, ages 15 to 44 versus income. However, great disparity throughout the world is still prevalent through gender gaps in education. Research shows 130 million girls worldwide are missing out on school. With more educated women, countries can gain many advantages, explained by World Bank. Better educated women tend to be healthier, participate more in the formal labor market, earn higher incomes, have fewer children, marry at a later age, and enable better health care and education for their children should they choose to become mothers. We took to Gapminder to find out if data was available to back up these statements. For each trend, we looked at Egypt, Tunisia, and India, 3 of the WEI countries where steps to improve education are being taken. To test whether or not better educated women tend to be healthier, we graph the mean years in school versus life expectancy. This shows life expectancy as the variable dependent on years in school. As we can see from the movement of the bubbles to the top left corner, there is a positive correlation between these 2 things. To test the claim of participate more in the formal labor market, we graphed mean years of schooling versus labor force participation rate. Here we see a slight positive correlation between these 2 variables, again giving evidence to the truth of World Bank's claims. In terms of earn higher incomes, we looked at how poverty rates changed as the mean years of schooling of females between the ages of 15 and 44 changed. When graphing mean years of schooling versus extreme poverty, we see that as the years in school increases, extreme poverty decreases. The next claim examined is that of marry at a later age. On our graph, we saw that as mean years in school increased, the age of first marriage increased. Finally, to say that the lives of children will improve because of better educated women can be seen through the relationship of mean years in school versus malnutrition. As schooling increases, malnutrition decreases. This may be related to the decrease in extreme poverty that is also seen with the betterment of the education of women. Gapminder data seems to be consistent with what World Bank claims are the consequences of a better educated female population. It is possible, however, that a few of these correlations, such as the decreases in extreme poverty or life expectancy, may be due to other variables, such as an increase in the quality of healthcare or technological development in the medical field. However, if we look at India specifically, we see that a leading cause of their rampant poverty is due to the fact that their population is so large. In Tunisia, poverty is partly due to the large size of their workforce. In Egypt, poverty is greatly caused by a poor education system. In Tunisia and India's case, a decrease in population would be beneficial to their standard of living. Decreasing the population can be created by decreasing the number of babies per woman. Further, when looking on Gapminder, there is a clear negative correlation between babies per woman and mean years in school, especially in India and Tunisia. Also, starting our view of data in 1970, we can see that an increase in the age of first marriage likely causes a decrease in the babies per woman. As we saw earlier, more years of schooling also has a strong correlation with an increase at the age of first marriage. Therefore, a decrease in population size can likely be attributed to the better education of women. There are definitely still inequalities in education around the world, both between men and women, and in the general quality of education within certain countries. The United Nations, along with many non-governmental organizations, have been making major pushes for the betterment of education around the world. It is important that they keep doing this because, as Gapminder shows, the increase in education has many positive effects both at the individual and world level.